Aha, I need a microphone.
Are we live?
We are live. All
Welcome, Burnout Studios. And it's been a while since we've been on. Bruce and his family was sick.
Still a little sick.
Wasn't the vid. It was just a cold, but it was.
No vid.
Yeah,
I want to talk. Sorry everybody who, if you have sensitive ears, but those fuckers over at Timcast IRL that always talk about fat people, it's their problem with COVID. Fuck you. You all got COVID, you damn skinny fuckers.
Well,
assholes. Just stop being mean.
I blame.
It's funny how you guys do a podcast where you say, "Don't persecute us just for having our ideas,"
right.
And then you go persecute.
Well,
shut up. Just shut up and live your life, and let other people live theirs.
I do blame my. I was one of the unlucky few that got a. COVID wasn't nice to me. I was actually hospitalized, and I blame the fact that I was overweight. So
it wasn't.
But anyway,
it was just no. Because look, you got it the same acuteness that Tim got it.
Right.
Is Tim overweight?
I heard that he had a pretty bad one.
Right. Is he overweight?
No.
Is he active and
yes.
So F you and your overweight effing just stop.
Well, yeah.
It wasn't your weight.
It could be that, like they say that
not only that, you had a bad doctor like he did.
Right, yeah. They say that you can do the research and see that there's a correlation between obesity and the severity of COVID, but maybe it's just because the mass majority of people out there are in America, especially, are obese.
They are. Based upon obesity standards,
right,
and not always towards, some people that are 20 pounds overweight, 30 pounds overweight is considered obese.
Yes. Well,
when they say obese, most people think of morbidly obese.
I have the unfortunate. I'm 6'5",
right,
and just my frame makes me right up to the point of being too heavy, and so I have been skinny in my life where I was like lifting weights and working out, and which I'm starting to do again, which I think everybody should take care of themselves, but even when I was I wouldn't say skinny, but when I was at my lowest weight, I was still 250 pounds. So,
right. I hope this is gonna be tough. We're talking about town called Liberty, and Marty has given me his last draft of it, and
of the first book,
and I've been going through and.
Looks like you got.
He
some
gave
thumbnails.
me an outline that he did where he said, let's put some
pictures here.
Let's put some pictures here. Put some words there.
Well, it's funny because
and then I have gone and done that again.
So
because
I actually,
I'm the visual side of things.
I actually made the same book that I gave you a copy for me. So just so they know what we're talking about here. Sorry.
Well, I can show you his.
So I've made a kind of a flip book type thing here, and so because like here's page 1 with a picture next to it. Now we've done these pictures already, but this was when we first did the book, and we're basically redoing it. So, but I laid out the book, so and then so back here when we run out of pictures, I have some blank pages here, and I just scribbled down suggestions So anyway, that's what Bruce is talking about here.
So I was going through and I was, reading the thing, and if you've watched our last couple podcasts as we talk about the story, you definitely know that we've had differences on how to tell the story. So I've gone out on a limb. Ugh. I'm gonna get eaten up here, but it's all right. But so we just watched this thing that Isaac Asimov was in an interview, and he was talking about how he was talking about con men of the soul, and he was talking about it in the context of religion. At the time the religious right, and now we have this religious left that's honest today, and that's what our book's really about, is the religious left.
Pretty much.
And I've had this conversation with Marty about how to show, or how do we make this to where it's engaging every book. It's not just the same thing every book. Because if we're not going to buy it, other people aren't going to want to read it. So we've tried to, we've gone around and around about how to thicken out the story, how to thicken out the liberty, but he was talking about how there's these spiritual con men, and he was talking about, like I said, the religious right. And so I thought about, how does that apply to the religious left, these spiritual con men? And it was like, wow, I really love that. And all of these changes that I've made, these slight changes I've made, are in reference to, he's got, in the stories, he first meets a boss, then he meets a guard, and then he meets an agent.
Right.
And to me, they all sound the exact same character. Well,
they're authority, yeah.
Well, authority is authority, but they all seem to be knowledgeable of the ruse that's going on. Like somehow they're all in on the joke,
right? That
he isn't.
Correct.
And the more I listen to people like that, and the more I've been watching some of the stuff that's happening right now, where people double talk, and Orwell talked about the double speak and all this stuff. I kind of rewrote it to where they're all except for one is in on the job, and that's the agent. But he loves it, and then I also came with the.
Well, yeah, but wouldn't the guard know what he's guarding?
No, he's guarding a wind farm. Yeah, he's just guarding a wind farm. He's just going and getting this check and going home.
Okay.
I just, and then the other thing. So, why would Ernie show John the information that somehow every other person who's seen it has the same question about, and that's the $1 million question? Why would you even show him? Why would you go through that every time? You unless he just been going about his job, and he was told not to look at it, so he just didn't look at it. So in the story, he's not. He doesn't know that that's a coal plant and that he's just covering up. He's just mid-level job, and that's his. And he's just happy to be part of the thing. I came up with this idea later on when John was talking with the agent, Brzezinski. John still thinks he's free. He still thinks he lives in a town of liberty. You know what I mean? So my idea is that starting off and the way I had it was, see, the problem is I wrote it like this, is I used his writing, and I didn't quite fill it all in, because I didn't want handwriting, because I knew I was going to have to type it out later, and I didn't, but So I started the story off coming down with the train into Liberty with the sign was big. And I didn't know how to show the sign being big with other stuff to show that.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, we have such small real estate.
Well, yeah.
I didn't know how to make it look as grandeur as it, and still be able to read Liberty on it and all it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just kind of figured out a way to put that in somewhere.
My thought is the front cover of book 1 is have that just a close up of the sign itself, Liberty.
Yeah.
And then when the story starts, you may have the train passing by it or whatever, but you don't have to show it up close because you've already showed it up close on the cover.
Right. I know. Okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't. I'm still trying to figure out how to do. What I thought about doing is saying that, and then places in the book, it's way in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably, it should be one of those things that
it just keeps popping up here
constantly
and there,
yeah.
But so like I had
the Eiffel Tower or something.
So I had this opening of the train, and then I flipped the image, so the train is coming in this way. So as the sign was big and bold, it was visible for miles before entering Liberty. Held in the air on one large pyramidal-shaped cement pylon, the billboard-like sign had only one word: Liberty. The monorail rocketed past the sign, leaving the woodlands, headed over a small hill and down into a city built along the coastline. And then we go to me, and then I switch pages. And then I jump, and I go to Samantha with her face pressed up against the...
Right.
And I actually jump the dialogue there to Samantha pressed her face against the glass, staring out at the city as it zoomed closer. Samantha beamed at her parents seated on the train next to her. Her parents, Benjamin and Hillary, looked on her with pride. They admired the new blue sundress they had bought her. Her fluffy afro was separated in pigtails, making 2 fluffy pom-poms on her head. The train, and I go back to the train television speaker system softly played. My fellow Americans, I stand before you today truly proud of what we have accomplished. Today is a historic day. I really didn't rewrite your speech too much. Historic day, but not... Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Horizontal flip. Oh, yeah. Spring into life. That's right. My fellow Americans, today's a historical day, not only for Liberty City. Today is a day for celebration for the world. Many years ago, a promise was made, and the promise was to care for our Mother Earth. And it began as a movement. Like all great movements, it started small. People began recycling campaigns. People started to carpool. And people started using less plastic and styrofoam. And I go to the next page. And my next page is the shopping.
Okay.
And I go to the problem is I didn't put it all back in order. Shoppers glanced for a moment as the train passed by and came to a stop in the station located in the heart of the shopping district. People crowded the shopping mall, moving from one shop to another, busy enjoying the families and friends accompanying them. The radio system at the mall continued playing the broadcast. Many states began to change the law based on the thoughtful, selfless actions of citizens, and over time a fundamental shift in the way people think happened. People everywhere stopped caring only about themselves, and they began to recognize we must care for all life on this planet. We must stop the pollution We must stop the torture of the animals we share this world with, and we must at all costs begin treating the environment as the fragile beauty it is. And I continued, if you see here, I continued the shopping up over the top of the words. So
okay.
And then the next thing I have is I have over on this side of the page are like projects or just buildings.
Right.
And I wanted to show that inside one of the buildings is a slice of life happening. And this is Maria watching her husband leave. He's at the door. He's got his watch. He's syncing up to...
he's going jogging. Yes.
He's going jogging. Maria looked from her balcony as she sipped her morning coffee. The world below her. Her apartment was already moving at a fast pace. The monorail was dropping off people, and all the shops were open for business. "I'm headed out for a jog," Maria's husband Juan exclaimed. He kissed Maria on the cheek and bolted out the door. Maria continued to get ready for the day as her television played. People began to realize they didn't need to live spread out. They recognized the impact and endless housing developments were having on the environment. People began moving into cities to allow the animals to reclaim their precious habitat. And then I have a scene here that cuts this. Either the wind farm is on one side, continuing all the way across.
So did you cut out the Brett Zern?
Nope.
Okay, you just switched.
Or I'm just switching it around because I'm trying to create a pacing order.
Okay.
Based more upon the speech.
Okay.
Or we could switch that with Samantha's, the one where she looks out over all the shops. We could have that one or the wind farm, because I kind of like the wind farm, just this one, because this one talks about, let's see here. Where did I cut? Reclaim their habitat. Reclaim their habitat, right. And then it says, and then I have, this is, yeah, but the one most seen traditional power plants, where is that one?
The one most important hazard of the environment was our electrical producing industry. As I said in the beginning, we, the American government, made the people of this great country a promise. We promised to phase out harmful energy producers such as coal, oil, and replace them with wind, solar, and hydroelectric.
Right. And I ended that on traditional power plants. Okay, and then after that is almost a double page spread of officer
Right.
giving a ticket to a car with the officer Brett Zorn
Stepped out of his electric vehicle.
Officer Brett Zorn stepped out of his electric vehicle.
He scribbled
out a parking ticket for a vehicle parked in front of a fire hydrant. He angrily ripped it off from his book and placed it on the windshield. His car radio continued. The movement began to grow. People demanded cars that would not pollute. They demanded plastics that would biodegrade. What I was trying to do is I was trying to introduce the city. And then we have another almost double page spread again, because I think I think the city is, since it's such the main character, so now we go move into the train station.
Okay.
And we have the people, passengers,
depart the monorail and either ride the escalators or take the stairs down into the mall. The video billboard system flashed through advertisements for the numerous shops waiting in the mall below. And then the speech continues. They demand
building a monorail system that connected the United States like it had never been connected before. Faster, quieter, safer, national travel, but not just for the passengers and the air they breathe, but it was also safer for the animals that lived underneath the raised tracks the train glided upon. And then we go to the next page, which is showing Liberty University with a young man,
Charlie,
sprinting.
Charlie sprinted from his car.
Sprinting, yeah, sprint. So that's it.
Cool. He was late for his class. He ran through the quad in the center of the campus. He understood that the college wasn't the same as high school, but he hated being late. The PA system continued the public broadcast throughout the hallways. The transition has not been easy, and the people of the city have been willing to be without power at times. But these sacrifices people make for the greater good, when asked, the average person will respond with pride, we must sacrifice for the greater good.
Must sacrifice for the greater good. All right, here's where I went off the rails a little. So
it's not
here
John,
is,
or what?
yeah. Well, here's an idea for an opening for this is. So on this side is John with Charlie sitting down next to him.
Oh,
right. You know,
that's not a bad idea.
And then on the other side is Beth.
Beth, right?
Right. And this is what I have. John stared dreamily at Beth, who sat a row in front of him and three
seats over
to the left. He was a junior now and knew with a fair certainty that what he wanted to do once he graduated. He even knew who he wanted to be by his side when he started on his life path. He felt lucky that way. Most of his age don't interact outside of. Most of his age don't interact with the opposite sex outside of school unless it's on a social media network. Dating was not the normal thing to do. Oh. He drifted off thinking of how he would ask Beth to marry him. His dream was interrupted when a hand nudged his shoulder. He glanced to his left where his friend Carl and
well, it would be you might make that Charlie.
Charlie.
That's cool. We can do that. That's not a problem.
Something in a whisper. My bad.
They're about to sit.
Dude, they're about to mention you. I know it. You had to have won. John looked up to the front of the class, refocusing on the speech. The Green Campaign is, and I quote, the single greatest thing I'll ever be a part of. And then the next page is.
So say that one more thing. Dude, they're about to mention you. John looked up to the front of the class, refocusing on the television. What?
Refocusing on the speech. The Green Campaign is, the president continues. That's why I should put it. The president. The Green Campaign is, and I quote, the single greatest thing I'll ever be a part of. And
okay,
that'll be explained here in a second. So then John is now looking up with, and then on the John sat up in his seat. That was in his essay. Oh, that's what his essay was titled. The president continued. A revolution. Oh, a revolving credit system. Quote, a revolving credit system. Community sacrifice and a love for all living things. The president paused, swallowed deeply, raises his hand above his eyes, and reverently bows his head. He holds the moment of silence. John can't believe it. Did I just win?
Okay.
Wait. Oh, dang it! I got that wrong.
Yeah, it's sometimes
no. My thing is I read it right in the right order.
Right.
Is the words there, but the scene is the president.
Oh, at the place.
At the podium.
Right.
Because that's supposed to be 20. Yeah, that's 18. So we went to the actual president.
Okay.
No, I had that right. Damn it. And then we go to the president. Sorry. Then we go to the president. And he says, the president shifted focus from the cameras and reporters in front of him to the suit-wearing people seated dutifully on stage. Please, Mayor, will you join me? I have a token of appreciation for you. Donella jolted from her seat and vibrated with excitement as they stood next to the president. All could now see their success, she thought. Mayor so-and-so, I don't know, or Mayor, whatever the last name is, I would like to bestow this key that is engraved with the Green Campaign insignia on it. To you and to the city of Liberty. In fact, to all of its faithful citizens. Mayor so-and-so. Thank you, President so-and-so. I can't remember his name. John was shocked. John wasn't shocked that the president didn't mention him or the school. Thousands of students from hundreds of colleges had submitted essays. And then...
So, do you have a picture of this key?
The
insignia and all that.
Yeah,
shit?
so
Okay.
here's the president, and it's a key that's kind of like on a it's almost like a statue,
right,
on a block type of thing. Yeah, it's sitting there.
Cool.
And then I go to the classroom with the professor. And this is 2 pictures per image because it's so important. Split between the professor's dialogue of Professor Williams exhaled a genuine sound of amazement. He pushed the button on the remote control in his hand and the television clicked to black. He turned to face his students who were beaming
with excitement
as well. Oh my goodness, wasn't that amazing? The professor claimed to the class. I wish the president would have mentioned our school by name, but this is exciting. As you know, many donations to the contest came in from our most generous providers. One donation from the Department of Energy I just threw in PG&E, but try to change that, you know what I mean? From PG&E was a internship. I have been given the great honor to present this award. The room buzzed with excitement that one of them might have won. The professor places the remote on the desk. Where's that one?
Placed the remote on his desk and retrieved a picture frame laying in the middle of the desk.
In the middle of the desk, okay. John McDonald, the class erupts in cheers. Will you please come down? Oh, yeah, so...
Please join us down here. The class erupted in hoots and cheers.
Right.
John was having trouble getting out of his seat as his friends and classmates surrounded him, all jockeying for a chance.
I changed that a little bit. John was taken back by the fact that he was still shocked at hearing his name. He recognized his words in the president's speech. He knew he could make a difference. If given the opportunity, the Green Campaign essay was that chance. But this feeling and adulation was overwhelming him. It rivaled his feelings for Beth. He never felt so absolute, so linked to his fellow citizen and to the community that he was now given the power to save.
Okay.
So then that is followed up with the cheers and jeer, right? His everybody clapping around him and clapping him on the back and like right here.
Okay.
Right? And so, and then I do this, and this is here is wait. Where we are still okay.
Yeah.
Gosh. So here is the class huddled around him as he receives the award from the president or from the
William or Professor Williams. Yeah.
I did this as a double spread.
Okay.
I kind of, in my mind, I almost wonder if this is the turning point in his life where the idea of fame and fortune, of the love of other people over his personal things, is the drive to his ruin.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, now this little plaque and the opportunity and the idea of saving everybody has now rose, if he's willing to admit, has probably risen higher than his love for Beth. So that in later, when he starts deciding, when she gives him the ultimatum, and then so that's 20. That goes.
So John accepted the award at the end of the school day, and he and Beth walked through the city on the way to her home.
Right. So here's them walking.
Okay.
And then on the opposite side of that is going to be
it was his daily
John and
routine.
Beth walk through the city on their way home. Blah blah blah. This is huge. And there's going to be there's a thing here, which what I liked about this image is the idea of this is John has his eyes down, thinking of the future.
Yeah, he's contemplating. Yeah.
And what he's thinking of now is all that other stuff that he just got.
Right.
All that. And her head is up. Her chin's forward. She's looking to their future.
Right.
Almost. And to his, she's kind of actually, she's bolstering his downfall without him even knowing what's happening.
Right.
In a sense.
Her words rang true. This was the beginning for him.
Right. So that's her words rang true. This is the beginning of him. Do the same to them. All the way down to do the same to them. Which is I think that's the whole page, isn't it?
He deserved it. Yes.
Yeah, so he deserved this. I think
impress me every day, and I'm positive you will do the same for them. Yep.
Right. And that ends that page with this.
Aww.
Right. So we, that's I think that's an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that basically, just like in what's that movie? Full Metal Jacket. Mm-hmm. It almost feels like two movies because there's the first part of the movie is about boot camp.
Boot camp, yeah.
Right, so that kind of ended that, and now he's on the job.
Right. So, did I take too many liberties there? Or is that interesting?
No, I mean I've been in my copy of the book. I've been scribbling down things, but you're going to have to.
I'm going to have to type all that out and give it to you.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to have to do that. And it gets even worse when I get to Brzezinski and Guard.
I've sent you the copies of mine. Just add it in
and then I'll
resend it back. Yeah.
That's all. I'll add it in. Yeah. And so then we go here. And we're going to get text on this side. And on this side is John.
Oh,
we get a side view of him
in front of the desk, yeah.
And with windmills out the side.
Mm-hmm. John nervously sat in the front of a desk. He stared at the empty chair behind the desk. He rehearsed his introduction in his head. He wondered what his new boss would be like. Would he be a fellow scientist? How long would it take before he got a permanent position? John leaned back in his chair, rehearsing a nonchalant conversation, pretending to laugh at a joke he had imagined his new boss saying. "Hello, John," a voice said, making John jump a little.
Right.
John turned and,
That goes to, I guess you're excited
to
get started.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. We gotta... That goes this way. No. That goes this way. Damn it.
Yeah, you're going to have to put these things back in order, man.
Well, this is in order now.
Right.
But, okay, so now I go to... I've made the building... Mahusive, just with departments of departments of departments,
right?
You know, because I wanted to make it look like Ernie's just a small cog in this giant machine.
Well, he is,
right? So
the main building was gigantic. It housed hundreds of offices. The energy department was separated into many departments, but John's tour ended in the basement. Ernie introduced him to the people of the department and showed him to his new workstation. John sat behind a large bank of computer screens. They showed every power plant source in Liberty, wind farms, solar farms, hydroelectric dam. John's new job was to monitor the screens.
The screens. Not sure I shut that. And then we go to the next page. We're going to have lots of dialogue. And then over here is Ernie hovering over him.
So, in the original, it was a 2-page spread.
Right, it's a 2-page. So this is how I cut this. The next day, John was thankful when Ernie stopped by. He had been there for 4 hours, and in that time, he mostly daydreamed of his life with Beth. Oh, the job. Gosh. This is why... Oh, me and my handwriting. The job had been... This is why computers are horrible, because it makes handwriting something you don't do every day. And then your handwriting gets horrible. Yeah. The job had turned out to be mind-numbingly boring. He wanted to prove how much of an asset he'll be to the community. But now, stuck here, he didn't know. And then it picks up with... Crap, I didn't write... Crap.
So, did you cut out the conversation between him and Ernie, or what?
No, I think
so. How are things running, John?
Yeah, I think that goes
John
there.
Just shrugged. Nothing has really changed. Ernie smiled and responded, "Here, let me show you a few things." Ernie slid in close to John and moved the keyboard a little so he could type. This system keeps historical data and has recorded the energy output since it went online. So if you wanted to, you could see how we compare historically to old production methods, or you could see how over time, as the farm grew, so has the energy output. It will also show which farms produce more. You can compare wind to solar. You can do a lot. Well, anyway, this is where you will be spending most of your time, so you might as well get to know the system, Ernie explained as he keyed in different reports in the computer.
Gosh, I did. I was really good at putting in let's see here.
And if I find any drops, John asked, you would report them to me, Ernie answered. What would cause a drop in power, John inquired.
Oh, here we go. Oh.
Many different causes. Well, in the case of solar, there is a drop at night and during stormy weather. Wind farms, of course, need wind. When the weather calms, we see a drop in power, and the drop is significant. Energy is best produced when the generators meet a constant speed, and with some of the more traditional methods, it was easy. But nature can't seem to spin the blades at a constant rate. But the beauty of the grid is wind and solar cover each other. In storms, the wind farms produce better, and in turn, when the weather is calm, solar does best. but I'm sure you will see that for yourself. Then the ace in the hole is our hydroelectric plant. It does best at turning the generators, Ernie concluded. He clicks some keys and the screen returned to the current power outputs. Anyway,
Alright.
I think you had enough for the first day. I will see you bright and early tomorrow, Ernie said quickly and motioned John toward the door. Sounds good. See you tomorrow, John replied.
Alright, I changed up. Gosh, I should have. What? I was doing that before, and how did I mess this up? This one little section. Dang it. Dang it. Next day.
The next morning, John happily typed away at the keyboard while closely reading the historical charts.
Let's see here. Damn it.
So what was the...
So pretty much what I changed was the next day John was thankful when Ernie stopped by. He had been there for 4 hours. In that time, he mostly daydreamed of his life with Beth, and John had turned out to be the job mind-numbingly boring. He wanted to prove how much of an asset community, but how stuck here he didn't know. Dang it! I didn't add in what part Ernie does. What he. Dang it! Well, yeah, because then I have Ernie explained as he keyed in different reports in the computer. And if I find any drops, ask John. Then blah 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 blah. It's your stuff cut into these areas. And then it sounds good. See you tomorrow, John replied. And so, but I can't remember what most of it's
in a. What did you add that you were? Or what are you trying to convey?
That
because I mean, you know, it's nice the whole daydreaming about Beth thing. That's fine.
Well, I just wanted to juxtapose his idea that he thought he was going to save the world.
Okay.
To now it's mind-numbingly boring. But then
right.
Ernie starts.
How do I save the world in this fucking place?
Right. But now Ernie starts showing him stuff.
And
so the next morning, John happily typed away because Ernie had showed him all that stuff.
Right.
So what I wanted to do is I didn't want to go from showing the stuff to don't worry about it, cut it out. You know, he shows up, and then he sat at the computer confused, and that's the same scene that we have earlier here,
right?
Where and then over his head is just tons of other people, right? So he's down there in the office,
right? So you wanted to make sure that we get across the save the world thing,
right? Okay. But a lot of that is cut differently so that it just applies to what's happening right there. And then I have 38. Okay, here's 40. Okay, that's 30. Go this way, Bruce. Right. So now I have these two pages here. So this is explain just a second. So then I have this page here where it looks like John's peeking around a corner. What he's doing is peeking around a door, and over here he's saying, but now he's waving goodbye. And what this is a little scene here that Ernie was interrupted by a knock on the door. The door is always open was his motto. Come in, he responded. John, what can I do for you? Must be important to have made the trip all the way over here. Yes, sir. John proceeded. Well, I was having some fun looking through some old charts and noticed something. Oh, well, let's see. I was looking over the power farms in 5 years periods and noticed this. John pointed at one output meter that hadn't changed, 94.69% average. All this time? Wow, that is interesting. I know that plant is very consistent, but did not notice it was exactly the same. You've really got something here, John. I'll take it to my proctor. Really? That would be great. Great work, John. Once again, John. Great work, John. Once again, John looks back and waves to Ernie as he leaves. The following day, and then leaves, and then we go to here, and we meet this uptight lady with the coffee cup. Let's see. The following day, John was looking at a new report showing just one weird farm, Area 84, over a 5-year period. That's strange, John exclaimed softly. What's strange? Came from behind him. A well-manicured woman with a coffee cup looked down on him. John jumped a little in his chair. Sorry, I didn't see you there. John stuttered. What are you looking at? What are you looking at?
Okay.
She said. I was looking at... Where's Ernie? Not here. Go on. John was uncomfortable and turned back to the screens. The power farms. This wind one here. Are you Ernie's proctor? Don't worry about Ernie. Go on. 84 here. The power doesn't fluctuate the same way the others do, John replied. The proctor put the cup up to their lips, and right before they took a drink, responded, That is weird. John smiled and continued, What could cause no fluctuation? I guess that's the million-dollar question, the proctor remarked. John looked at them inquisitively and asked, What do you mean? The proctor calmly responded, You aren't the first to discover this. Why it does it? We think it's chalked up to a glitch in the system. Maybe I can figure it out, remarked John. The proctor,
John remarked, yeah.
The proctor looked sternly at John and stated firmly, That's not your job. Others are on it. Let me be clear. Take it out of your mind and just focus on the job at hand. John opened his mouth to object. John, please, don't make me repeat myself. Just do your job. We'll see you later.
Okay.
So
you changed Ernie into a proctor.
Well, no. All I did is I made Ernie just a willing participant in the system.
Right.
And when he was presented the information, so I took him out of showing John too much of the stuff.
Right.
And so that John was finding all of it, he takes it to Ernie. So I think that's where the cuts were. It wasn't that that Ernie was showing him everything, and then he tells him it's the $1 million. And then he takes it to Ernie, and he's like, oh, you're right. That is kind of interesting. I'll take it to my boss. And then this lady shows up, or this person shows up, probably is more apt. You know, I keep putting some gender things in there, but most of it's supposed to be days and these and that's. But they show up, and they have the conversation. They're the ones who are now the asshole. Because she's now obviously a couple pay grades higher.
Right.
And now she can be in on the thing.
Right.
And so then we go to
John Shooter's Food Deep in Contemplation.
John Shooter's Food Deep in Contemplation.
The $1 million question.
All the way down to rapidly happy. Or rapid.
Right. He replied happily.
Yeah, replied happy. So they're at the restaurant with tons of other people, and he's got his burger and his soda, whatever, and she's there, once again, head up high, but his head is slumped down, and he's got his hand on his cheek. You know, he's really...
Yep.
Okay, and then...
He's really kind of butthurt.
So he's deciding how he's going to screw everything up.
So you gave the wind farm a designation?
Yeah.
You said something about 88 or something like that.
84 or something like that.
So, because like the next scene should be John was surprised how far the drive was out to the wind farm, which I can include, wind farm number 84, blah blah blah. He exited the freeway and headed for the windmills in the distance. Not surprisingly, there was a tall chain link fence surrounding the entire farm.
Right.
There was a gate and a small guard shack at the gate. An armed guard exited the shack and approached the car as John came to a stop.
So I have it like this.
Okay. And so,
and I changed this interaction a little bit too.
All right.
And I just gotta find it. Sorry. It's pretty much
because even if this guy doesn't know that there's a, spoiler, a coal plant underneath the ground there, I don't know why his interaction with. I mean, are you wanting him to be more friendly, or do you want? Anyway, you tell me here.
Right.
Can I help you, sir?
John was surprised how far the wind plant went. Can I help you, sir?
Right.
And then it goes to.
He asked John through his driver's side window. John produced his ID badge from a wallet and handed it to the soldier.
48, 46. So
the soldier looked at the ID and handed it back to John. Saying,
okay, here it is. John produces ID badge. I actually wrote it down here.
Mm-hmm.
John produced his ID badge from his wallet and handed it to the soldier. The soldier looked at the ID and handed it back, saying, "That's nice, John. But what are you doing out here?" John took back the idea slowly. Took back the ID slowly. I work for the company and I wanted to see the wind farm. There it is. The soldier presented with a wave of his arm.
Oh, okay.
But, I guess I meant I'd like a tour, please. John smiled. The soldier shook his head. You're the only person I've ever seen trying to do a tour. This is not a national park, John. This is a facility and a vital infrastructure resource that we protect very seriously. John stammered, "Oh, yes, of course. It's my job to protect this farm and its electricity, and that it provides to you and the rest of the citizens of Liberty," the soldier proclaimed. "But, no, John, go home." John reluctantly backed his car out enough to turn around. He sat at the intersection to the interstate for a moment, looked in his rearview mirror, then backed his car again to the guard shack. "Yes, John, what can I help you with now?" John took a deep breath. "Can you at least answer one question?" John blurted out. The soldier looked annoyed. "What?" John pointed over his shoulder. "What's that building in the middle of the farm?" "Goodbye, sir." And then it goes to...
Soldier responds as he turns and walked away.
Right.
John screamed out the window. "No other wind farm has a building like that on it."
Right. No one, and then down to driveway and drove away.
All right. So you kept the fuck off, sir?
Yeah, so that's in there. I think it can be in there if you want it, but so that's here. So this is John having had backed up now, and what he's doing is like, "Can you tell me what
Right.
So.
Okay, John drove down the road. Out of sight of the guard shack, and he found a small road leading around the perimeter of the fence surrounding the wind farm. He was looking for a back gate, but after 10 minutes of driving, he could not see one.
Oh.
He stopped his car and got out. He approached the fence and stared through at the building in the center of the huge wind farm of windmills. He stared intently at the building, looking for any movement. He listened intently, hoping to hear something that would give him a clue to solve the mystery of the building. It just didn't belong on the wind farm. He thought maybe it was an office, but he could clearly see there were no windows, just one door. Just a big, square, boring-looking building.
So I have him standing on top, and I have that all the way go to, he suddenly heard a noise, and he went for the door handle, and I have him standing on his car looking over the fence thing, to, he suddenly heard a noise over his head. John...
He suddenly heard a noise growing louder. It was a hum, electronic, possibly a fan. It grew louder. He recognized the sound. He was sure he had heard it before. but what was it? It was coming from above. John snapped his head skyward. There it was. The drone filmed him from above. Oh shit, John whispered to himself. He turned quickly, heading to his car. As he reached the door handle.
Okay. So that's this sign here. So this is the other side of that, him looking over the fence. Mm-hmm. And I've got to nail this scene. I haven't been able to figure out how to do it just yet. But what we're going to do is I'm going to blow this up. Mm-hmm. And as you open the book up, the inside cover of the thing is going to be that face looking over. And it's going to be on the back, too. That's going to be the inside inserts of the book. I think this would be fucking awesome. Okay, now this is where I changed a ton.
John!
So here...
Okay,
so this is John, a voice shouted from the front of his car. John pulled back from the vehicle and took a couple half steps and froze. It was the same reaction he had as a child being caught doing something his parents thought was wrong. He could see a gray-haired man in his 50s smiling at him. The man motioned to the drone and it flew away. John looked to watch it go when another man dressed in a suit struck him hard in the head. Stars exploded in his eyes as he fell hard to the ground. The impact knocked the wind from his lungs. He was trying to catch his breath, and all they did was, oh gosh, what did I?
Wind escapes on.
And all they did was watched. He was scared. Who are they? Where are they from? The wind farm? All he knew was he needed to leave. Get up, John told himself. Trying so was rewarded with the well-dressed attacker's foot to his chest, driving him back down. The man's foot came to rest on John's throat. The gray-haired man slowly approached them. And here I don't have any drawings yet, but this is John, have you ever seen a more beautiful night? The gray-haired man said. Oh no, Jones. No, Jones. Have you ever seen a more beautiful night? I have the idea of him kind of looking out over Liberty because you can see down from the farm over Liberty at night and it's all lit up with lights and everything. Have you ever seen a more beautiful night? The gray-haired man said. Jones shrugs. The tall man continued. You can see all the way to Liberty from here. Gorgeous. John wrestled with Jones' leg. Oh, Mr. McDonald, right. The tall man.
So you're wanting to introduce a little bit more of Brzezinski's flippant attitude?
Just kind of like, and not only that, but
he's a fun character.
But just talking,
right?
You know what I mean? And then the idea of him interacting with his partner. So,
right,
they've now done this thing to this guy, and now they're just talking like he's not even there.
Right.
It's another level of you are nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I want. Gorgeous. Jones, have you ever seen blah blah blah? John Russell's Mr. McDonald, right? The tall man retrieves his agent's badge from inside coat pocket. He gently kneels down next to John. We're here to help you, John. And I wrote help for the text with capital E period, capital H period, capital E period, capital L period.
Right, yeah.
And then I thought of lowercase p.
Why?
Because you have it Homeland, Environmental,
Labor Proctor.
Labor, but a proctor is a person. So I almost thought they were they're Homeland, Environmental, Labor proctors. And so his badge should actually say HEL. So they're hell. But I would write out Homeland, Environmental, and you'd have to see that hell is what they are. But the P would be, I'm a proctor, so they're proctors. They're the people there to implement the homeland environmental. That was just my idea.
Well, just so you know, the HELP, you're the one who thought of this.
Right. but I think the lower P would be interesting.
Okay.
I'm Agent Brzezinski, or I guess I'm Proctor Brzezinski, and this lovely one here is Jones. The badge reads HELP, HELP with the capital letters, and John squeezes out help. Brzezinski. And then this, I got to rewrite it. I noticed, gosh. Brzezinski lifts his head slightly and looks down at John. Homeland, Environmental, and Labor Proctors. John softened. Brzezinski's eyes looked up at Jones and motions with his head, and Jones lifts his foot from Jones' neck. I did write that. What
Jones' neck. Yeah.
I think I did rewrite that. Oh, John loosens his grip, his death grip on Jones's leg. He remembered watching a video recruitment ad for, okay, so he says who they are, Proctor, and then John loosened his death grip on Jones's leg. He remembered watching a video recruitment ad for help back when he was deciding his plan in life. They were a federal enforcement agency tasked with tracking citizens' carbon footprint, abuse, and social credit score.
Okay.
Their carbon footprint, abuse, and social credit score. They were the new terrorist watchdogs, tasked with protecting citizens of America, quote unquote. That last part he remembered. The agent in the video would emphasize every time they made an arrest in the video. John was confused. Why are they here now? He hadn't broken any laws.
Right.
Had he? He thought to himself. The shift of Brzezinski's head was so subtle that most would have never noticed. But Jones complied immediately and lifted his foot from John's neck. John sat up, rubbing his neck and chest. You can't do this to me. I didn't do anything wrong. I did nothing wrong. I'm a citizen in good standing. Brzezinski's stomach contracted, and the corner of his mouth rises. John continued, I'm on a public road. I didn't go over the fence. What did I do wrong? Brzezinski nods in agreement. I love that idea. You're right. You know, kind of like...
So, okay, and then...
John, well, then...
This is a federal facility, Mr. McDonald. Even if you work for the government,
yeah, John's
does not give you the right to break into this facility.
Public road. Nods in agreement. Why did he hit me? John gingerly puts his hand up to his cheek where he was struck.
Right.
Brzezinski just stares at Right, okay. Where he was struck, Brzezinski just stares at John, then stands up. I love that. He says, I didn't do anything wrong. And then he's like, he hit me. What? And he's like, just stares, no reply. And then he just stands up, walks to the front of the car, and reaches into his outside jacket pocket. John, I'm an employee at the EPA. I told the guard that, but he wouldn't listen. Plus, I'm a citizen in perfect standing. Brzezinski removed his hand from his pocket and chuckled a genuine laugh. This guy, I love him, Jones. We don't often get one like this, or like him. We often don't get one like him. Brzezinski torted as he reveals the pistachios in his hand. John doesn't respond. John looks back and forth between the two agents. Why? John was interrupted by Brzezinski. This is a federal building on federal land and staffed with federal workers. It's just a win for him, John lashed out. Brzezinski cracked a shell and popped a nut into his mouth, then points at John without looking. Like I said, John, we're here to help. Did Ernie put you up to this? John looked shocked. Ernie? No, I came here on my own. Brzezinski interrupts him again. John, you haven't done anything yet that you can't fix. John, get in your car now and go home. Everything is there waiting for you. Oh, everything is there waiting for you. Yeah. Brzezinski motions towards Liberty. John opens his mouth, but Brzezinski looks directly at him. John, don't be stupid. Don't ruin your life like Ernie did. John wanted to say something again, but Brzezinski continued. Now forget this ever happened. Forget Ernie. Forget Jones and I. Go home. Have some apple pie with Beth tomorrow, and everything will be just fine. John was motionless. Jones firmly grabs his elbow and guides him towards his car. Brzezinski opens the car, and Jones maneuvers John into the driver's seat. Brzezinski shuts the door, and John looks at him and swallows hard. He nervously wants to ask another question. And how did they know about Beth? Brzezinski leans down into the window. Now, with sugar on top, fucking go home. John started the car and slowly pulled away. He looked back in his driver's side mirror at the two men. Neither of them was watching him. The shiver ran up his spine. That's where I've gotten to so far.
Okay.
So have I?
You just wanted to get a little bit more. I briefly mentioned in the what help was, but God, when you mentioned a commercial, part of me almost wanted to do a cutaway scene
of him watching the commercial.
Yeah,
but the thing about that is then it would really get long,
right?
But because the idea though is that statement that they say.
But what I can do is I can include that because one of the things that as I've been writing all of these different stories, this is just one of many.
Holy crap! Okay,
I can include that commercial in another fucking story somewhere.
Each episode should have a blog on our website, or each thing, and there'll be an insert with that. You can go write that commercial,
right,
and then put that on the blog, so all the episodes can have like little supplemental information,
right,
on the blog, and you can go and read more stuff. Oh, that would be hot.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, but
and we can even put a little asterisk there. See blog.
Because one of the things I keep on doing, and because it's fun, is you asked at one point, who the hell is Maria and Juan? Who gives a shit? But they show up in another story, and then it's. I want all these characters to, even when you just see them for a second, to show up somewhere else.
Right. No, that's and so what I was trying to do in the pacing was show kind of that, especially with the idea of the Charlie turning into Carl. Although maybe Carl, it was because they were both started with the C that I just write Carl. But so what I wanted to do was I just wanted to show this level of progression of people in the city, and then I wanted this last interaction with Brzezinski and Jones with John, and I wrote that little statement of John has to still believe that he is free, and not just free, but like American apple pie free. He has to believe that that I'm an American, I can go wherever I want type thing. And these guys are clearly showing him, no, you're not. And then I thought the idea of with Ernie and that and the idea too is I don't even know if I'll even bring up Ernie if I'd bring up Ernie again. Like, he doesn't even care what happened to Ernie when he's talking with Beth. And the only thing I want to change with Beth is instead of they sent me this, is I received this from an anonymous source,
right?
And her not kind of,
well, just her saying I received this is good enough,
because I didn't want her. I can understand her being part of a resistance, but not opening the resistance up to him at that time. Right. And then just getting this thing saying, this just came to me. What? That's scary when something just anonymously comes to you instead of knowing where it came from and why it came, and
right.
And then the whole idea that, and I love that scene with him holding the award. The idea that maybe right then, all that cheering and you can see it in politics. That whole idea at the beginning with talking about these people, these emotional con men, how our politicians just become the new preacher, tent preacher, who will say and do whatever they can and put on a show to get you just to give them money. And so they're willing to sell out liberty, willing to sell out all this stuff just to gain their own wealth and status because they know that none of that stuff is going to impact their life.
Right.
Because they're going to die long before the really bad stuff hits the fan.
Right.
Although people seems to be accelerating stuff awful fast. And so I haven't been able to get to the rest of it just because sick and it.
So you haven't
pages on here that are all drawn on. So every time I pull this out, he has to come and run and my son and jump on me and wants to play. And it's like, can't I just jot a couple ideas down? I have to jot stuff down quickly on my phone. In fact, I should show you. I'm trying. I gotta go get some.
So the conversation with Beth is next.
Yeah, the conversation will be Beth.
But have you changed anything?
I haven't got to it yet. So here is my idea for. I want that perspective looking up
at the big foot on
at the foot, and I don't know how to get it. Just probably gonna have to get some people to model for me. I'm gonna have to probably get on the ground and have somebody actually take a picture. Yep, and sit next to me with their,
right.
And because I want that picture of him feeling oppressed, feeling
right.
There's nothing he can do
right
in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is because I kind of wanted Brzezinski's character to, I guess the only person I can compare him to is the comedian from The Watchmen.
Oh, yeah.
He's a bad guy who does bad things, but he has that kind of attitude, of where he doesn't care.
I said before, I've modeled him visually after Michael Caine.
Right.
And I've modeled him after Michael Caine from Get Charlie.
But I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Right. It's a great movie. Mm-hmm. But there's this lovely scene in there where he's a mob enforcer. Mm-hmm. And he's been sent to an older, aging mob enforcer to tell him to back off. And he comes in this guy's house, and the other guy, he's a pretty decent-sized man, but he's overweight, he's older. And the guy comes home and his wife says, this so-and-so's here to see you. And he just goes off mobster on him type of thing. What are you coming into my house for? And blah, 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 blah. And Michael Caine stands up, straightens his jacket tightly. And you can tell he's just a few inches taller than the guy. He looks at him and I never get the quote right, but he says something like, I can see you're a big man. But me, I'm a professional. This doesn't need to go further than this. In other words, mm-hmm. I'm going to break you. Mm-hmm. You might get a punch in on me, but I'm going to break you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to break you hard. Right. And that's one of those scenes and that's, to me, I'll watch the whole movie just for that little thing. And so, a lot of times, so when I'm writing this stuff, I'm thinking of Michael Caine's voice as he says this stuff.
Right.
And his framing, his timing is usually so good with the little stuff like, oh right, Jones, McDonald, I didn't see you down there. Right. Let's get back to that now. It's just, right, Jones, McDonald. It's just, Jones, you ever seen more beautiful night?
Right.
Just
that whole Dirty Rotten Scoundrels type character also.
And just that whole idea of the Tarantino. Tarantino would have those two talking to each other. Right. I would imagine.
Yeah, just
like that.
I mean,
and then
Jones is literally a man of no words.
Right.
I mean,
and that's why I said he just shrugged.
Right.
And I probably wouldn't even have him looking.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care. He's doing his job, and he's doing his job that he loves.
Yeah, Jones is a scary character.
Jones is a scary man.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that filled out that psych eval just right so that he'd get that certain job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Brzezinski's the other scary guy because he loves his job too, and he might not even care about saving liberty or all this stuff. It's almost like he enjoys just being able to hurt people and control them.
Right.
And I've always liked when you go into talking about control and why people, and I think this is a great, and your idea of the 7 deadly sins and all this stuff, and I just watched a cartoon on Netflix, was it? Another one, and it went through the 7 deadly sins, and it kind of made me think about this too, that all of a sudden pride or envy is grabbing John from somewhere that he didn't know.
Right.
He thought he was just in love with Beth and he was just going to get this happy job and do this, but now all of a sudden, I mean, the idea of the president quoting you to the whole world.
Right.
And then everybody's cheering you like you're some great, amazing thing, and all of a sudden his brain starts to change and he's starting to think that I can be a difference. Not just
right.
A difference in Beth's life, but a difference to every, you know what I mean? That's powerful.
Did you have some ideas on Beth? Because you had mentioned her before.
I think the only thing
resistance thing.
You mentioned that she was going to be all part of that. Mm-hmm. I think the only thing that you have in here that is just that one statement of hers. They sent this to me.
Right.
And instead of change, I would just say, John, I got an email or something. I received this video of you. What is this, John? I would just leave that anonymous. And that just adds another level of scare. It allows her to go off and be who she is later.
Right.
And it allows us to let her disappear. And we don't know if they took her or did she escape.
Right.
Or go on underground, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know that yet. And I don't think there's much going on that I'm going to change. The only thing I might do is I'm just going to... The only thing... A lot of this was also... it was going from the back forward. Was I didn't understand at the end... Unless, make the audience work for it. Yes, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was working too hard to see throughout the story where John made him laugh. Where Brzezinski's last statement to him is the thing I'm going to miss about you most is your humor.
Right.
But I can understand that you might be like, but did he think that was that all? What did he think was funny about and it was a lot more math in my brain than I was having a hard time linking too much. So I just thought adding a little thing here, adding another little smirk here, a little smirk, just little things like that. Maybe that thing where he's running down the street after him. Maybe I thought that might be from a rearview mirror of the car looking back as he's and maybe there's a little smile on his face again. Just a little chuckle. Just some stuff here and there, and then the other thing was, you had Jones hit him, and you wanted to show that,
right?
And then at the end, he clotheslines him, and it's the same exact thing. So I was like, instead, we'll tell the people that he hit him, and then at the end we'll show him hitting him, and then it'll be
right.
It won't be the same thing over again,
right?
And.
But let's see here. What was I going to say?
And I also wanted to show
to quote Samuel Jackson from Pulp Fiction when he says, "It's like I've been saying that shit for years. I never really thought about what it means. I just thought it was some cold-blooded shit to say someday before I pop a cap in their ass." And that's what I was trying to do with Brzezinski.
Brzezinski
was. What's the one last thing he can say to him? That's just, a Brzezinski thing to say.
Right, but even in the movie,
right,
he had to explain that to us.
Right. But that's the genius of Tarantino. He loves to do that.
Well, that's great. So then in the next book, and then he says it, and then we start getting understanding. Oh, this is what he just loves to.
Yeah.
This is what he loves to say.
This is his job.
This is his thing, But
yeah.
unless he tells us that, then I didn't understand it from that perspective.
Right.
And I probably would have added that in at the end or something like that.
Right.
Have John say, "What?" No, it's just something I like to say. Bam. You know what I mean?
No, it's a. Let's see here.
Or if it was a standalone story, then I would do like The God in 60 Seconds. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
So at the end of that, Vinnie Jones, who hadn't talked throughout the whole movie,
right,
has this monologue that he gives of this existential. Talking about existential life crisis and all this stuff, and it's all deep in thought and all this stuff. And it's like, where the hell did that come from? Do you remember that? Remember
Not
that?
really.
Oh, it's hilarious because he doesn't talk throughout the whole movie, and then when they ask him a simple question, he gives off this whole deep thing, and you're like, okay, you're like.
I don't even know which character that is.
So Vinnie Jones, he's Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. Those things. He's the big ex-football player, the ex-soccer player. Mm-hmm. He's the guy with the Desert Eagle.
Right.
Mine says Desert Eagle 5.0, 5.0 point, whatever, 0.50 or something like that. Yeah, so that's Vinnie Jones. And so in his character, but it'd be like they start walking off and then Jones starts talking. You know what I mean? Type thing. What do you mean? Sense of humor. Where'd all that stuff? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's just something like that. Blah, 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 blah. And then also, but that'd be if it was a long thing,
right,
and it was an ending. That'd be kind of funny because then Jones starts talking. And you're like, what? Wait, this guy talks?
No. Jones is the murdering version of Silent Bob.
Right.
Although Silent Bob does talk every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. And the same thing, Silent Bob, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't say anything, stands there with his with Kevin Smith's stupid eyes.
Right.
And then when he does talk,
it's deep and profound.
Right?
Right.
So that was the same thing with Vinnie Jones, and that thing was super deep, and you're just like, where'd that come from? Because he just thought he was a big thug.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah.
So I could see that, but
well, one of the things
did I go too far?
No, but one of the things I was wanting to ask you is I personally love this size. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I would like to, that I've decided that I think would look better is, I kind of put borders around everything when I sent you the copy.
Oh yeah. So
I was thinking maybe just take it all the way to the edge, no borders.
So I upgraded my version of.
You just blocked your camera. Nobody can see you anymore.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Oh, I gotta go up to.
That's what you should do.
Here's Town Color. So what I have done. Oh no, that's not the one I wanted. I don't think. Maybe it was. I think this is. So I've updated my version of Clip Studio, which has this great kind of not Illustrator, but InDesign. It's like they took all the best parts of creating media content out of all the Adobe stuff. So not only does it have some Illustrator stuff for text and things like that, but so it has vectoring for text, and then they also took the InDesign stuff for page layouts. So it's kind of hard to see, but and it's hard to see because of the aspect of the story.
Right.
Oh, excuse me. But so I have a bounding box. So the idea is, do we keep the bounding box or not? And I had the idea of putting the bounding box all the way across the page.
Yes.
And then only doing Liberty, Curiosity Kills on one side. We'd put whatever the episode is titled up top. I don't think we get rid of it altogether.
I think if we go all the way from edge to edge, I mean, no borders, no nothing, no title.
No title
on there.
I think that's fine, because then we just we'll put text in.
Because one of the things that
text is the right size.
One of the things that
that's 14 point.
Well, no. One of the things I was thinking was with the logo that we came up with there. I think whatever we come up with the,
and then there was the idea,
the cement pylon, whatever that, which it puts a lot of pressure on you. Whatever that sign looks like when it finally springs from your brain onto paper,
it's.
I think we should use that as the logo.
Well,
whatever font you come up with, whatever you do, that should be it.
Okay, but the problem with the thing is just, I think of a pyramid the size of Giza. That's what they would build.
I meant more like the one, that building in
San Francisco.
Yeah, it's real tall, but it has a pyramid shape on top.
Something trades building.
Yeah, but that type of that's what I meant by pyramid, was
an obelisk. Yeah, more of an obelisk, the tall thing with the point at the top,
like the
Washington Monument.
No, but
I just thought of Giza and how, because the idea of incorporating Giza to this is because these people aren't, these new socialists will think they're enlightened.
Right.
And so they'll think that they're Egyptians. And I thought of Giza and how Giza had the gold tip.
Right.
And then that gold tip is actually the holographic engine that projects up.
Right.
The holograph. It's just, so the idea to me is either way you go, a tall building with lettering on top of it good enough. Think of the San Francisco building. How do you put that in perspective, that Liberty across the top of it is legible, and the building still is I know it's a size perspective thing.
Right.
That I don't know if our aspect ratio fits well. That's what I'm having a problem with.
Well,
it's not so much the concept of it. It's just
right.
I just don't know how to make it not look like a tiny little triangle with Liberty on top of it. But how do you make it feel like Giza?
I don't know. I mean, I Giza never entered my mind.
At this size, you know what I mean?
Giza never entered my mind.
Okay, and then even still, how do I make that building from San Francisco it's just the size compared. I'm just having a problem with
right
because it's so big that you have to put so far away to make it fit in the size of the page.
Right.
And then how majestic would Liberty be?
Right.
But that's this big.
You know.
But I mean, no, literally, that's this big.
Right.
That's not.
I know.
100. That's not 100 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that we did as a community,
right,
to show how important Liberty is. You know, we wanted to make it the tallest structure in the world, type thing. So how do you put that so far out to make it look like,
mm-hmm,
in the aspect ratio I have, that it doesn't just become looking like it's a model on a desk.
Right. Well, another thing we can do is, I mean, because if we,
because I would love to take,
we can take it backwards, meaning that you draw, because there's a couple different ideas that I've had. One was this type of thing, a giant pylon with a big, you know, Liberty on it, but also I've thought of going the Hollywood angle and having, as the train comes into town, on separate billboards, Liberty spelled out, you know, kind of like Hollywood, you know, and doing it that way. But the thing is no matter what we choose, or you choose, no matter what you choose, we can just change the writing.
Right. No, I get that. It's just, like I said, it's just implementation of it has been something I've been struggling with.
This sign is, like, in my mind, is super important because it's going to be the logo / everything.
Right. So then you start talking. So then you got to go double back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the Chinese are doing a pseudo-communist / capitalist society now, right?
Right.
So they're not going to put out, when they put out Dogma now, it's not going to look like Soviet Dogma, right?
No.
It's going to be new, flashy, up-to-date stuff, right? So they can meld with the cool capitalism that's happening.
Right.
So now we got to advance that a whole nother step
right.
to America. It's like, and who are these people? You know, does it come out more creative looking because they're, you know, is it right. that side, or is it more literal looking? I mean, I don't know. And that's something I think maybe you got to go download. There's like these character worksheets that they have that are really super long and involved, mm-hmm. and just put Liberty City up the top, and then they ask you questions, and some of it won't apply. Do they fly? You know, do they do this? Do they do that? You know, do they fly? Yes, they have drones. Do they do it? You know, and just write out, and then you can actually flesh out what it came out of, what is it out. Maybe you really, because that. So our idea for this Liberty was, this is what the ragtag huddled masses down in the outskirts of town wrote on the side of a fence. Mm-hmm. And so then it would look more like either a tagger did it, so right. it'd be more artistic looking, or if it was just a no-nonsense person looking for liberty who's not so much artistic, then it would just be handwritten out, mm-hmm. in a paintbrush, maybe with some drips coming down and stuff. But I don't know, you know, that I think that's where where we really gotta
I'm
define.
I'm thinking more and more. I'm thinking doing this similar to the Hollywood signs, and what I'm thinking is, as far as the backstory for it is, have it be some kind of donated piece from some big name artist. Like that one guy who likes to. He did that thing where he put like flags that were like going across the landscape. I mean, he does big, huge art pieces.
They definitely would do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definite.
But I think that doing it as part of the landscape, like the Hollywood signs, and so they're separate, and so it's similar to what we already have, but not exact.
Right.
But each letter is its own sign.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I still kind of like the pyramid idea of a giant symbol, a power. Because I really love the idea of it's a power sucking, like 10% of the power plants just to go to power that damn thing. Or you know what I mean? At least like 1% draws just to provide the power for that hologram.
Just like that hotel or whatever in Pyongyang.
Yeah.
Which is completely empty.
Right. But yet is a 5-star hotel.
Right.
Because I love the pyramid thing with the Liberty on top. Mm-hmm. Because I would love to put a small miniature behind Ernie on the desk back there. He's a patriot.
Mm-hmm.
And have that just propped up here and there, little trinkets like that of it. A keychain with the Liberty written on it that somebody has eventually later in another story and things like that. It should be the same font for Liberty University. Go Proctors. I don't know. Go what? I don't know what they would be. They wouldn't be. Would they be an animal? They wouldn't be an animal because they didn't get the rights from the animal to use their likeness.
Yeah.
But some of that, I think that comes down to deciding what liberty is, who liberty is, or what they are, the city itself. And then I love listening to. So you remember that girl that escaped from North Korea?
Yep.
She did an interview with Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm. I've heard it.
Did you watch that one?
Mm-hmm.
That one was so much more eye-opening than Rogan's or Tim's.
I like Tim's. It was good.
I think Tim's was better than Rogan's.
Yes.
But Peterson's.
Well, Peterson's always such a deep thinking talker.
But she talked more about things in that. I don't know if it's because he pushed her to talk. But she really talked. And we had this discussion last time because I didn't think that on the outskirts there would be people that didn't like living in liberty, didn't want to be part of liberty, that I thought it had to be a completely bought in thing. And I loved how she talked about those people on the outside, but yet growing up being taught the walls have ears, the flies have ears, the bees have ears, even all the little, no matter where you're out in the middle of the field and a bee's flying around, that's listening to you. Type thing, even out there where you think you're safe, blah 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 blah. So I loved how she was talking about it, and that really is a lot of that came out of this too, or a lot of this came out of that, because from here I can show the juxtaposition of somebody else later, from John's way he's reacting, the way Ernie's reacting, the way the guard's reacting, that there's levels to this stuff, and I wanted that to happen instead of just everybody either being on this side of it or that side of it. And I didn't think that's the way it is. I think there's mass levels. And I loved how she said there's 50 castes.
Oh, yeah.
There's a caste system, almost like 50 different levels
right.
within the Communist Party or just North Korea, you know. And
but another thing, I still don't think you've. I don't know if you've ever watched it. Did you ever watch that Scientology thing that Leah Remini did?
I think I've watched it before. I just don't remember all of it, but I think I've watched a lot of it.
You should go back and watch it, because one of the things the reason that it's such a fascinating show to me is because that cult that they're in and the way that they control the people inside of it is exactly the same thing that the North Koreans do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing that the Communist Party does. I mean, what's fascinating to me, and I mean, because it's like written into his dogma, into the church, is when somebody attacks you and questions what you believe or whatever, they're an enemy immediately.
Right.
And it's your job now to find out as much dirt and as much bad things you can about that person and destroy their life before they can destroy yours, I guess.
Right.
But it's it's just fascinating. And one of the things that you always talk about whether everybody's bought in or not, and I don't think in any of these societies, any of these cults or whatever, not everybody is bought in. I mean, even at the upper levels, they still aren't bought in completely. But the system itself is like self-regulating.
Right. Well, I think it's like what we were talking about earlier with the doublespeak. I think somebody can be bought in and then still talk out the other side of their mouth that they're not bought in.
Right.
Yet they, and so it's like, but it tearing their soul apart,
Mm-hmm.
Yet they don't see that until something like
right.
what happens with John happens. It's an external force that comes in, and all of a sudden that tear now they're trying to put the two pieces back, and what side's gonna win?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think the double is so profound. I mean, people can't, because a rational person can look at it and say, "Oh, I'm being hypocritical." But people are saying things out the both sides of their mouth, and they're not somehow connecting that it's the same applies for both sides. I don't understand it, and it's something that I think delving into this story
Mm-hmm.
could be, if we can help people come out of the fog a little bit and into more rationality. That's what Asimov was talking about in that thing. Mm-hmm. He goes on even farther about that, about being the rational. And what's funny is in his talking, he's talking about the horrible religious right and the religious people that put their faith and hope in something that science has proven. And so, and not that he is saying that science is the end all, the be all, but he pretty much is kind of saying that, and how now they use the science. It's amazing how you plug the hole in the dam.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to be rational, so that must be wrong. Boom. Hey, what'd that stream over there open up from?
Mm-hmm.
I won the argument here.
Right.
There's another stream over there. I got another hand, but I won this argument.
Right.
That has to be the mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they can see that, but they don't care that the dam's still going to break
Right.
But they won this, and that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like it's just fascinating to me.
Well,
I will type this up and get it to you.
Yeah, just add to what just use the same.
And then I have this already. I love this because I bought this because I knew this was available in the thing, and I'll be able to see the whole book. I can put all the pages down there. I'll be able to see exactly how it looks and laid out.
One of the things I was going to ask you about. Did you ever talk to that guy that does that?
No, I haven't talked with him because I'm not at the point where I'm ready to do anything with it yet. Maybe when we start getting...
Because I think once you already have the layout, but once we have some drawings and, we can look into that.
We need to have at least 10 pages, 15 pages done. We're also going to need to figure out how to record audio in a... we're going to have to make a little soundproof room for them to sit in. Mm-hmm. We need to find some people who want to do it, whether it's family, friends, I don't care who. Mm-hmm. Come do it. That's fine. That's exciting. Right. I think that's what he did. I think those are all family and friends. His uncle worked for Disney as an animator, so their whole family is creative. They get together and play music and do. So the whole family is. So he was able to probably just, hey, anybody want to help me out? Oh, sure, I'll do. And stuff like that. Plus, we'll probably have to get stuff to make sounds with, and go find free stuff, or we're gonna have to buy a pack from somewhere, type thing of sounds. I tried watching on Disney Plus. DC has made old Batman radio show serials again, and so they were doing it to sound like the old serials that aired on radio back in the 40s.
Right.
And you could tell it was made today. It was horrible. It really was. It sounded like a couple guys in a podcast room doing, it didn't have that sound like those old radio, like the Green Hornet, the Shadow. So there's something. So whether we can find access to soundboards, blah 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 blah,
Right.
I know Austin doesn't want to do it, but maybe he'll allow us to rent his studio, or something. Come in and be able to bam something out real quick and type thing. But so I didn't ask because of that. I figured he would show me some stuff, and then by the time I went to do it, I'd forget it.
Right.
And not only that, but if you want to do the animation, you should be there taking notes on how to do it too. Mm-hmm. So that would be.
Well, we can't even call it animation what we're doing. It's really,
it's animation.
It's moving the camera.
No, it's animation. Yeah. It's because it's animated.
Yeah.
I do have. I think I have some old information army of videos, animators survival kit. So where'd it go? Here, I'm gonna put it over here for you to see. So this are videos by this guy that I think worked at Disney, and he shows you how to actually animate. And so I'm sure one of the lessons in here is about timings and things like that. So if you want to copy that, and you can sit and watch it and learn how to animate.
Cool.
Otherwise, how to get the timings right and all, it just hurts my brain. Well, I did, as I wanted to shift gears here for a minute, and just because I wanted to bring up this, because been thinking about. But I was thinking about Shattered Time the other day, and I had this scene. Because we talked about this idea right at the beginning of, the Emerald Knight, the Elemental Knights against the Nazis. And I had this idea of 20 battles that happen on the same battlefield, or 10 battles. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and then all of a sudden, there's Napoleonic soldiers, there's Roman soldiers, there's World War II soldiers, there's knights, there's all these different things, and you have like cannonball coming through like in the Patriot, you know how it skips and it just mows through a couple, but then Banks bounces off of a tank type thing, just mass chaos, and then we switch, and here's a scene of Lucius with like a sword, maybe like flaming sword or something, but it's in his left hand because his right arm is actually freaking cut off, and he's just slashing and hacking out in the middle of this crowd of people mindlessly, right? Just going at it, and there's all this just death everywhere, and he just gets blown by a mortar. And then we do something like cut to 9 years later, and he's hanging on a wall with his half his body missing, and he gets woken up to a regenerated Bioroid body, and it's the aliens talking to him. And then we cut back to the scene of the aliens afterwards going through all the dead bodies looking, and they have like scanner thing, and they find him, and it scans him and says, here's the temporal here's the temple wielder, one of the temple wielders we're looking for, type of thing, boom boom boom, and then they go on to explain to them that it's taken them 9 years or whatever, how many years of this past, to adapt their alien technology to human DNA so that they could rebuild his body in a bio, like, cyborg thing. So he's half organic, half
not
metal, half not. So he can still wield his magic, but now he can do it 10 times the speed or 20 times the speed, and he can jump, slash. But it was just like, that was just me playing in the sandbox, you know what I mean? Just having fun.
Those type of scenes always jump through my mind as far as giant battles that mesh together. And
it was fun. I wouldn't want to draw that.
No.
But I just thought that I could see that in the movie, him just, right. I mean, even though he's lost it. He's just the carnage, and all he's trying to do is survive, and he's just hacking at anything that comes close to him, and then finally either a tank or a mortar, gets launched at him, and just that's fun.
All right, well, should we wrap up? Or
the other thing, well, maybe I'll tell this off camera.
Okay.
But well, how long was that?
I don't know.
It's 2 hours.
All right. Burnoutstudios.com. It seems like we
give
never
us feedback. Please give us feedback.
We never update anything on that damn website, and we really should. But anyway,
well, he has a reason now to with the blog.
Right.
We can create a blog for each episode.
Right.
And we can write some backstories for some of this stuff there in the blog.
Right.
And
so I've created another channel for where it's just me reading Shattered Time. It's an editing process for me, so I'm just I go through and I edit one chapter at a time and read it, and hopefully you guys like it, and give me some feedback, and and eventually we're the whole idea is to have another channel for a town called Liberty that is the same type of thing, but it's going to be more of it's not just a audio podcast, it's a video audio podcast where you'll be able to see it.
We're going to separate me from, I'll still post stuff about me drawing and stuff, but we're going to separate from just my YouTube.
But I think it'll be kind of cool to have all these different channels, all linked under Burnout Studios.
Right. We'll have it all aggregated there.
Right.
Might need an intern for that, but
yeah, either that or some more time.
Time heals everything.
Right.
Money heals. It's amazing, It's like I was telling my sister, we got this little bit of money. So you don't give poor people money.
Right.
If anything has proven what went wrong with the last 2 years of payouts and things like that, giving poor people money is just
yeah.
If I would have taken all that money and just bought Bitcoin with it, I would have doubled the amount of money I have.
Yeah.
In the same amount of time. But instead I've spent it.
Right.
On stupid stuff. Well, not stupid, but I mean we increased our quality of life but didn't increase our station.
Right.
And you're supposed to take money and increase your station, which then increases your quality of life. We kind of just increased a little bit of our quality of life and stayed in our station.
Right.
And so,
yeah,
we got to dig out of that. All right. Enough of that.
BurnoutStudios.com.
Burnout Studios.
Go look. Go visit. Go comment.
Yeah.